Welcome back to the Carpentry Australia podcast. My name's Matty and I'm here today with the great
David Vastbinder from DPV CONSTRUCTION.
Fantastic. And you've been a member with us for quite some time. You know, you were one of our sort of founding members many moons ago. And do you remember why you first sort of got involved with us in the first place?
I think it was just that finally there's a sort of someone to help us with our industry. And I think with carpentry, it's just loose, we need help, and I think Carpentry Australia is there to solve that need.
And when did DPV start, and sort of take me through your apprenticeship and, hey, I know you're a registered builder now, so how did you get to that sort of stage?
Yeah, so we started way back in 2011, and a lot of that was when I was still an apprentice. But sort of start right at the story, so I sort of finished school and in 2007, and then from there I went to university, and with the mindset always wanting to be a builder. So having a university degree, once I finished school, it's kind of helped me with being able to run a business or go work for someone. I wasn't quite sure where I'd head there, but at least I thought I'd knock that over, and then I went and did an adult apprenticeship. So I think with that, doing an adult apprenticeship later in life, a lot of people sort of thought, well, you've changed industries, changed career paths, but my intent was always to be in construction. And I think by doing a second, it kind of gave me a leg up. A lot more life experience, but then also knowledge and know-how too, and a lot more drive, because at that point, I was already out of home, so I'm like, well, I've got the motivation, I need income, I need my paycheck, so
keep the lights on.
Yeah, you've got expenses, so it's like, well, I hustled, and I did a lot of work after hours too. So throughout my apprenticeship, I'd do my, call it 7:30 till 4, and then I'd often go do maintenance projects or jobs after hours or weekends. I was doing 7 days for quite a while, and I think that really helps, sort of progress to where we are now.
Where do you think that hustle comes from? Because not everyone loves, working 7 days a week or, putting in the hours. Did you just have that from a young age, or was it something you built up?
I think so. Yeah, I think from a young age, because I still remember, even when I was super young, go around, especially during school holidays, on whatever day it was, Wednesday mornings or so, and go through people's recycle bins and pick up, the cans, and then by the end of the school holidays, you end up, with, call it like a trailer load or so, and cash it in, and it was all by weight then, so you need a lot of cans to be able to get a minimal amount. I think just having that drive. I'm not so money motivated, but I just like working, and I think that's where probably carpentry has led me, and into construction, is that I have a real passion and love for I guess the industry. So it just makes going to work so much easier too.
Yeah, definitely. Did you fall in love with it straight away? How early on did you know that you wanted to be a builder?
Yes, I think probably in high school, maybe around the years of 9, year 10, and it's very typical, everyone goes, I love working with the hands, seeing the outcome, the finished product, but that was pretty much it. Through woodwork, year 10, I was like, right, well, this is what I enjoy, and I was quite fortunate too, knowing that. And I took, like I said, sort of took the university path, whereas some of my other friends went the vet VCO.
What did you study at university? Was it building?
Yes, I did bachelor business.
Okay,
yeah. So my majors were e-commerce management, and with a minor in marketing. So that was always sort of set myself up to either be on wages, but still stick within construction, and ideally run my own business.
Do you reckon a lot of that skill set that you learned at uni has definitely helped with the business side, that a lot of carpenters and I guess builders definitely struggle with? That's most of the phone calls that I get are around business, and that's something I've always got to help out with. So yeah, do you think that having that sort of background definitely has given you a leg up?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think subconsciously back then, nowadays it's kind of just it's natural. And I think you're right. A lot of business owners never really got taught how to run a business, how to grow, and it's especially because you get so caught up working sort of on site, just ticking over. No one's actually sort of sitting back and working on the business. So I think that's the biggest key, and that's where I think if you can assist people, that's where they need help at the moment.
What about for yourself? How many days a week are you spending? 7 days a week on the business? Are you in the office 4 days a week, 5 days a week? What's it look like as a director that's got multiple jobs happening at the same time?
Yeah, so I predominantly try to be in the office, but depending on the weeks and where the projects are at or what sort of comes in on my schedule, it does dictate. But I still try to keep somewhat a little bit of routine. And Mondays are generally the busiest because we get sort of setting up for the week, recap, and then the weekend inquiries. So I try to do a lot of office time Mondays, and then generally Wednesdays, and then Fridays I still love to do site runarounds, site checkups, and then generally it's like a Tuesday or Thursday, like quoting, client meetings, bits and pieces. But I think the more time I can spend in the office, I'm a lot more efficient too. So, and I feel that because when I'm on site, I'm just on my computer and like, you get distracted, or you're waiting for things to load. I know I'm not as efficient as I can be, and that kind of upsets me too. Whereas like in the office, I've got multiple screens, it's a quicker computer, so I'm there and I can focus too, less distractions.
And do you have your own space as well, your own office space, or is it at home, or is it a factory?
So we've got an office factory in Box Hill South.
Yep.
So factory downstairs where we store a lot of our, equipment, and that's probably the biggest difference as well. Coming from carpenter to builder, there's a lot of extra tools, equipment, assets that you need just to run the site, which unfortunately you have to store somewhere too. So in between projects, or as some projects at different stages, they come and go, and then we've got like a mezzanine office upstairs, which...
Do you think having your own space definitely helps with, like you said, the focus, the organisation, sort of making sure that you stay on track?
Yes, and I think it gives you that drive as well to go well. And it's also presentable to a lot of clients, because we'll have client meetings, especially early on. We're pricing projects or running through with client meetings. I'll often invite them to the office, and we'll just sit down and we'll run through other proposals or potentially that new lead. And I think it just shows that professionalism too. You go, well, yes, we are a level up from the home office builder or the one-man show, and that's also reflected in the service and the value that we can offer, and then also the price. So I know we're not the cheapest, but then we offer a lot more value.
Yeah, I guess no one wants to be the cheapest.
Well, that's the idea, isn't it? Some days it feels like there's a race to the bottom, and that's where a lot of the sort of unqualified industries are. But I think with carpentry, we keep trying to push it up, because it is a skill, and we want a lot of carpenters to be recognised for the time and the effort, and then also the knowledge on site too. Because at the end of the day, carpenters are there right from say demolition right to handover.
Why do you think are carpenters, I guess, the most unappreciated in the trade in terms of, wages? It seems like a lot of the people that I talk to, you are there from the beginning all the way through to the end, and there's a lot of things that don't happen without carpenters on site. So where do you think that comes from, and when does this pay disparity, end?
Yeah, so maybe it comes from, I guess, being a builder and then carpenter by trade, but then all of our carpenters under us just end up being like a builder's carpenter almost. So the idea, the intent is we just need the project to keep moving. And unfortunately, that's where the carpenter's like, if they're in-house or the contract, they're always available and they're generally on site. So it's like, all right, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's outside the carpentry skill set. But again, looking at the project schedule, you go, all right, we need it moving. So I think that's just where, they just get lumped with a lot of tasks and try to just keep it moving. But unfortunately, I think with the pay, because they are seen right throughout the job, it makes it hard, because when you start seeing carpentry invoices and then costs, which just blow out throughout the project. Whereas plumbers, electricians, even other specialised trades, they just come in and out. So even though they're on a higher rate, it's probably not as noticeable. There's carpenters that way too.
Yeah, okay. For the whole quoting process, I'm always interested to hear how different businesses sort of manage that side. So you get your inquiries, do a bulk of them come through just through like Instagram or your website, or is it word of mouth?
So majority of our client, or most of our work is referrals or sort of repeat customers. So with that, we've got plenty. We've got a couple of clients that we keep going back on stage 4 or stage 5, and it's just over a couple of years. We'll renovate or we'll do a task, and then we're back the next year and following on. Or we just stick with them, and then we stay within their family. We've got another client that will do work for their house, but then also their family house, and then other siblings. So it's really nice when it's sort of we keep within that, but then we still get a few new leads come through. And I think trying to show what value you have sometimes is what is probably the hardest part about the project, and then winning that client too, because some clients are just looking on price and trying to distinguish and go, well, what they actually need is to understand their overall proposal, because if you're just looking at price, I think you're going to make the wrong decision too sometimes.
I was going to say, how do you differentiate, you're putting together a quote or a tender, whatever it might be. How do you sort of showcase to the client that that the price is what it is because of the quality of the work, and there might be some cheaper quotes out there, but they're not necessarily going to do things to the level of detail, and is that sort of what you end up sort of instilling in the client too?
I think a lot of it is almost set from when they're getting their quotes, their proposals in, because no doubt like some clients will get a one-page quote saying as per plans, and here's the price. Whereas we really break down our proposals, and we'll have either site meetings, client meetings. Sometimes we'll even bring in like trades and get them on site just to formalise their quote. But our proposal will broken down per trade or sometimes per room, depending on what the project is. And so potentially our proposal can be 20, 30 pages, and it's I try to break it down almost per step, per key item for each task, and then I think at least that way they can start saying, well, if we're putting in this much detail and attention right from the start just for a proposal, then that will translate to the detail on site too.
And was that something that you learned over time, or did you get it from another builder, or was it, I know that you've actually done a lot of upskilling yourself and you're very interested in continuously learning about things, so did it come from any kind of coaching that you had, or like where did this sort of process start?
I think it was more just about trying to make things easier, more simplified, and then also just a better outcome for the client. So we used to use a couple of different software packages, and then as we've grown as well, or as I want more, then we keep looking elsewhere, and we find new software packages. Got a really good one at the moment, but even that I still not using for the full sort of capability that it has. So we're across a couple of different programs.
Well, what do you use? You're welcome to. There's no.
So for our on-site project management and client portal, we've got Buildertrend, which is sort of American-based, high expense, but well worth it. And then for our proposals, we use Wonderbuild. And then accounting software, we use Xero. So I know some of them, you can still double up, and we do pay a premium because I'm sure we could use one platform to generally cover a lot of that. But this is kind of what works for me. I think that works.
I was going to say as well, so I've heard of Wonderbuild before, and I haven't heard of the American one, but I know that there's plenty of businesses out there that use, they might have 4 or 5 different softwares that they use for their business, and sometimes they're not necessarily getting the value out of it that they might need, for the takeoffs, or if it's for their timesheets, whatever it might be. What was it within your business that showed that it was worth the money for what you were getting, and it sort of, what was it, saving you time on certain things as well?
So the biggest shift, which is why we moved to Buildertrend, was more about how can we better the overall project, and that's whether it's schedule, contractors, clients, even our in-house system. So the advantage I think with Buildertrend is that there's different aspects. So from sort of subby to subby work, it's all there. So we upload their details and we just schedule them. They get notifications as soon as we book them, and then they get the prior notification as well. We expect them to do like daily logs, and that's images, description, so that helps us with our scheduling. And then we can see on the project, are we on track? Where are they at? What do they get sort of completed for the day? And then one of the other biggest features was like the client portal. So for any of our clients, like they can see live time the actual schedule. It's got its own personalised email inbox. So like for each of our projects, customised inbox, so at least we're not losing, missing emails or things like that too. And there's also the sort of documents and file share too. So from our perspective, one platform generally in-house, which helps the on-site project management. I think that helps, and we use Dropbox for our cloud base, which we've got a lot of data just because of a lot of projects, and we take thousands of photos throughout the job. So
we've always been very meticulous about photo taking and documentation, because there's so many people out there that are noting a pad and they take a few photos and then that's it. Has that just always been?
I think record keeping is a big one for me. I like to be systemised, organised, and I think that's where, like say scheduling, I love it, and that's where one of my windows on my computer is just it's the schedule, and I just alternate per job. But being able to see it, and I have to look at it in like a monthly view as opposed to like Gantt chart or a list. For some reason I like to see per month, and I can see each day from there. But then that really helps just to stay on track, and then forecast any potential lead time issues, or making sure that we're on track too, and keep accountability for people.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle for carpenters in terms of getting organised? Like what's something, coming from someone who's extremely organised, what's a tip that you can give that if they sorted it out, it'll save them time, exponentially?
Yes, potentially it could be technology. Everyone's got a phone, but it's like how much do you use? Is it more so just for social media, phone calls, text messages, or are you using it, for what it has the options? All our sub trades, we just expect them to use an app. So one single app, but then they've got this whole program and software where just unleashes almost for them. So I think that really increases productivity too, because they can see schedules. They're not showing up to a site, and go, well, this is not ready, because they can see our schedule and go, right, well, they know the previous trade was in the day before, so today, it is ready for them, or it's just them on site. We know there's multiple trades. So I think, again, efficiency helps, and I think the more you can share with your sub-trades, or project benefits from that too.
So it helps you communicate better as well. Communication's a big one.
And even like trade to trade, and then for us, it's more so the client communication. We like to try to be really important with that, and that's where I think the customized inbox it helps, because then those clients know that we're responding to them as well, and then we sort of just work towards it.
Now, look, I hate to say it, but I am a bit of a fan of the block, and I loved the season that you guys were on. I was watching it pretty intently. What was obviously we didn't get all the way to the end. There's always dramas on the block, and we've had people in the past that have gone on it and they've gone off. And look, we've had everything happen. So I want to know what your experience was like on it, and has there been some other opportunities that come after that might not have been there?
Yeah, so the block was, it was a great opportunity, and that's where I think surprising to some people that you can't apply for it as a builder. So the contestants have to approach yourself, and then you get the opportunity. So I've always said previously, no, I wouldn't do it, whether it's work commitments, timing, or even sort of the outside of work, your family commitments too. But opportunity came up, and we sort of had a team discussion, and like, all right, well, we'll give it a crack. I think apart from the longer hours and the intensity, which is what we always thrive on anyway, we're quite used to, but I think overall we really enjoyed it. And I think well, if the opportunity was there, you'd be silly not to take it. We were quite fortunate, we already had some opportunities prior with TV, and then different sort of programs, and then after as well, like we built some really good contacts within that sort of industry, and I think it's just another stepping stone. And to be able to say you've been a block builder, great just for the portfolio too.
Definitely. So even from an optics point of view, it's still good.
Yes, absolutely. And I know it didn't go the way that we wanted. Like, we love to see projects from start to finish. So it was a little bit disappointing that we sort of we got subbed out halfway, but then again that opened the opportunity for another builder to complete the project.
And then they still had dramas afterwards anyway, so it didn't matter, no one was winning. I love it. Well, I think you did really well, and you won some awards on there as well for like the best room, and I think like the hardest workers on site and stuff as well. So you was obviously appreciated in different ways.
Absolutely. And I think being able to sort of bring our skill set and the methodology of the way we do some tasks, because even Keith and Dan hadn't sort of seen the way we did a couple of the tasks, and that was an improvement for them as well, and that's what they then incorporated for the rest of the houses. So being able to bring that, and they were long days because we'd have to sort of get there 6 o'clock in the morning for a park, and then the guys would finish at 6 p.m, and then depending on what's required, Mark and myself would either stay after or generally try to sort of limit at that, and let the contestants do almost the night shift, and then we're back again, and 6 days a week.
Well, I couldn't believe that they changed all that this year. They they locked the site at like 6 o'clock. They'd only let them work till 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. some nights. It's completely different from sort of how hard they made them go a couple of years ago, but good experience overall.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got some other sort of community stuff that we've been able to do, and I think I've always wanted to include DPV in it. I think there's been a couple of jobs that have come up where it hasn't sort of worked out timing wise, but I know that we'll get one in soon. Do you like to do stuff for the community, and for your sort of, I know you do stuff in the court for your for your kids and for the families that are around you, mate? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we do a little bit with Gateway Lend as well, which is generally like work experience for a lot of Year 10 students. So we take on, and we generally have them throughout the whole year, work experience. So it's 1 day a week. We've got a student, and it's just offering that industry experience. And they also do a lot of I call it like sort of speed X days, where like the students come from different schools, and they meet a bunch of maybe 30, 40 different professionals from different industries, and we just have a chat. It's like 6-7 minutes at a time, and they just work around almost like a round table scenario. And it's great because we love to give back to the industry, and I think a lot of students can do 10 days in an industry and go, oh, is this for me? Is it not? And I think it's a fantastic learning curve for them, because we've had students that come in as thinking they want to do carpentry, but no, they want want to be in construction. And then sometimes I'll be like, no, carpentry is not for me. Maybe it's an electrician, maybe it's a plumber. And again, it's been the other way around. We've had people that come in, originally I've done work experience with plumbing, but now I'm thinking I'll go towards carpentry.
That's cool. That's cool. And how long have you been doing that for?
I think we probably about the last 8 or 9 years or so. Yeah, so quite a long time. Again, it's off and on a little bit throughout the terms and sort of what students are available, but it's great for us because it gives us almost like the good feels. But then it's also really good. We pair them up a lot with our carpenters or sometimes our apprentices, and it just it helps them with their personal growth too. Yeah, because then they're looking after another student. They're thinking for themselves and someone else. So without a lot of the pressure, it's not like the work experience is working with the boss or someone like that, and the expectation's too high. Yeah, they get the chance to really sit down with the carpenter and learn and chat and then really progress through that way.
Well, not many people would know this, but Dave's actually has attended multiple different trade schools with us as well over the years, and I think we're very appreciative that we've been able to have a member sort of in the flesh with us at Melbourne Polytechnic and Box Hill Institute, and I think there's been a couple of times at Swinburne and stuff as well. So all the different schools that we're associated with here in Victoria alone. And like for you to be able to take time out of your day to sort of come down, kit them out with some of your own, you've even got some of your own merch and some of your own branding stuff that apprentices love, but also just talking about, your experiences in the trade and sort of, instilling that it's a great industry for them to be in, and, you're there to support them as well. And I think we've even said, if there was any apprentices that were keen, we might have had a couple. No, we did actually have one. I don't know if he's still with you now, but we did have an apprentice that came from Melbourne Poly that started working with you guys, and it was a good fit. Has he gone on to finish his apprenticeship?
Yes. So that was Josh, and so he finished apprenticeship with us, and then stayed on as qualified carpenter, and we sort of kept him for a few years, and then he's decided to move on. But it was a great opportunity. Worked for both parties. I think he sort of liked where we've come from, what we were doing, and he wanted to get into the renovation space, so it was perfect.
Perfect fit. I'm glad we'll be able to do that as well.
It definitely works both ways then.
So what do you think about where the industry is going, and is there any sort of tidbits that you see happening over the next couple of years?
I like to still see carpenters keep progressing. I don't think it's going to be like a licensed trade overall, but I think there's a lot more worth with carpentry now. Whereas apparently, like previously, I think the bit of a mindset was you're a carpenter, you're towards that bottom because you're on site, pay scale, things like that. But I think there's movement, and again, carpenters because they're on projects, they know all tasks and do a majority of them. It's like, well, they need to be remunerated and rewarded for it too. So I think if we can keep pushing carpentry, and that's also a few sort of programs and then sort of associations too to back that, then I think then it will be on a level playing field as well, and have a lot more respect within.
Yeah, I think you're right. You mentioned before about sort of pricing and the fact that plumbers and electricians, they might come in, they're only sort of there for a short period of time and they get paid more. There is that sort of pay disparity, but you're right. Like a carpenter might get 3 months worth of work out of a job, whereas a plumber might only be there for a couple of days, and then and then they've got to move on to the next job. They've got to keep quoting and stuff. So I guess you're right in saying that they're on site for a longer period of time, but it doesn't mean that they can't be paid more.
No, that's right. Because at the end of the day, everyone's goal is to work throughout the year. So it's not like, say, like a plumber or electrician only working 2 days a week. So if everyone's working 5 days a week, well then why aren't carpenters at the same rate? I understand there's a lot more licensing and insurances, but I think at least be sort of a little bit more sort of closer together with the pay scales.
What do you think of some of the events that you've been to over the years, for builders and for carpenters? Have you sort of met some good people through some of these networking things that you've gone to?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've still got a few sort of network groups that I'm affiliated with as well. But I think the biggest change in the mindset that a lot of people don't see is that if I can go out to breakfast with a few other builders, we're all in the same sort of space, like we're in construction, but I could be renovation, someone else could be new builds, someone else could be extensions, whatever it may be. But we're seeing almost like collaboration, like we're working together as opposed to competition. I think that's it's really good in that way. But for some people, like they don't want to be seen with another builder. It's just whatever that mindset is. I think if you're there to help each other, because at the end of the day, the industry is very small, and that's what I tell a lot of the sort of the carpenters too. And then one of the other advantages is that we share a lot of our trade contacts between us builders. So could be someone's in need of another renderer or a different electrician. Kind of go, well, yes, we can vouch for this electrician, we use them, or no, I would recommend this person again. I think having that inside knowledge and just that group, it really helps within ensuring that each project is delivered and to a high outcome too.
Yeah, okay. I actually want to talk about one thing that I thought was really fascinating. Obviously, the last time I saw you, you were a little bit heftier. Like me, you were definitely not. You were not a big boy, but like you've leaned up quite a lot, and I'm impressed at how fit you're looking. And it's hard to run a business. I'm always talking to our boys about being able to run a business, but then being able to look after themselves as well. So like, have you got any other kind of tips or tricks, or any kind of advice for people that want to stay healthy as well, as a builder?
Yes, I think, the hardest thing is probably as the builder, you sort of start shifting more towards the office space. I know growing up it was always like, I want to be outside, working with my hands, and then unfortunately just natural progression pushes you towards that office role. And I think, it's like, well, one or two is going to give, isn't it? So you either try to push back and go, stay on site, put office workers in, or you go, well, take the role of the office work, but then you got to keep working on yourself. And that's where I realised I need to keep focusing on myself, and I think it was a bit more routine structure, and then just my own space too, where I could almost clock off and just worry about myself for a bit. So, and then about timing wise, I was like, oh, well, can't squeeze it in during the day, can't squeeze it in at night, so where's the time? So just got to wake up earlier. So generally the other one goes up at 4 a.m. and up and out, and then so I can still sort of go train and then sort of be on site or back in the office by the time everyone else starts their day on site.
Okay. And do you feel like you get used to it? You're used to it now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most trades always like to start it, but it's just how early is the alarm clock going off? Because I remember I used to sort of post sometimes on social, be like, if I was leaving before 5, it'd almost be like the early bird gets the worm scenario. And nowadays that's just almost like a stock standard day. But it's just a different mentality, and I think if you're working on yourself, then it's reflected in multiple aspects too. So because I know, like, I've worked on myself, so then I think my performance at work has also increased, and then also my family as well. So they've sort of reaped the benefits across the board.
And how do you manage having a family? I know you've got a couple of kids, and you obviously love being a dad. So how do you manage like the business side of things as well as being good to your family and trying to look after them?
Yeah, so I think the weekends has probably been the biggest shift. Like I said previously, coming from 7 days a week, and I was 6, and now to really try to sort of minimise the amount of weekend work I do. Sometimes it's still a little bit of sort of computer work on the weekends, but there's less client meetings, less sort of quoting, things like that, because with my restructure, I can do a lot of that during the week. So it's a lot more better time management. But then saying that, there's the after work commitments too now. So like I've got swimming lessons, things like that. We've got dancing. Like my wife, she does a hell of a lot. So she sort of generally looks after the family and all of those commitments, because unfortunately I don't have like a regular home time, which would be nice, but give or take, whether I'm coming from site or from the office, it can chop and change every day. So I think that would be really good from their perspective if they knew, right, I'll be home at this time regularly, but I'm trying, working towards that, and I think that will be almost a goal for next year, is to sort of start setting a few more family orientated goals, along with work too, because I think we can deliver more within the same sort of time period too now.
Well, talking about goal setting, do you have like a certain formula that you follow for goal setting? Do you have like a big goal and you got little subset goals that sort of sit within it, or? Yeah,
so I think I used to be really aggressive, and I think that was almost before you had a lot to lose as well. At times are different. Like I remember like 2018, 19, we pushed the business pretty hard back then. Things did seem a lot easier too. But like I was still a registered builder back then. We had more carpenters on the books. Things were just easy. Whereas nowadays there's a lot more systems and processes involved, but we're still we work towards that. And what was the rest of the question?
Do you like goal setting? Like do you how do you set your goals, and sort of what's the best way to set yourself up for success?
So with goals, we try to review them annually, and generally, as most people, will be over the Christmas break, where you can kind of you take a minute, see where you finished up the previous year, and then where you want to be for the next year. I think one of the biggest shifts was almost like writing them down, because then they're out there, and if you discuss them with people, whether it's family, friends, business partners, whatever it may be, it's a little bit more accountability on yourself too for it. Whereas if you just kind of have them mentally in your mind, it's like, did you reach it more? You go, I got 3/4 of the way there, that's all right, you can be happy with it, you can settle. Whereas I think if you can be accountable, like we've got a Blackwater home, which try to put them on, just sort of a few personal goals, and then the business ones are slightly different there as well. But I think our aim is to really keep pushing, and it's not so much about turnover. Like some people just want to see growth that way, but I think it's more about the value. If you go, well, during the year, like the jobs are running smoothly, client satisfaction is high, your team satisfaction, your culture's there, and you can almost clock off on a Friday and not have a problem over the weekend. I think that really shows your company growth. Because for some reason, like it always used to happen, like Friday afternoons, there'll be some sort of issue, question, email, phone call, whatever it is, and you go, it just play on your mind all the weekend.
Do you think that the margins come as well? So like a lot of people are worried about turnover, and they're like, look, if I just have more jobs, that means that I'm going to make more money. And like, in layman's terms, it seems like that would be the case. But do you think that even having sort of smaller jobs that are going on, or being more meticulous about what you're actually doing, you can actually still make more money, within that space, or you've got less risk involved? Like, how do you see it?
Yes, I think it's sort of both ways, because you can run smaller jobs and still have the same markup as a larger project. But if you're comfortable in that space, you're going to be a lot more efficient, and your schedule's going to run on time. Your client satisfaction's going to be there. So we've got a few bathrooms and laundries on at the moment, and it kind of just runs like clockwork in the background. I was talking to the client today, and she's like impressed about how it's run so far, and it's just things have stuck to the schedule. We've had to adjust them here and there, but for predominantly most of it, like we've kept to it. Timelines are on track, and then we start the next sort of stage 2 the following week. So I think with that, yes, you can still do really well, staying within your lane. Is the way we sort of like to pitch it. So without going to a larger project, and then you're being a bit uncomfortable there or swamped, but then you also need that uncomfortable zone to be able to push yourself.
That's true.
Because I think I was happy being comfortable, and you go, well, I want growth. And everyone knows you've got to be outside your comfort zone for that. But how far do you extend? That's probably that is a balancing act. And I think you almost got to overstep and go, all right, well, maybe that worked out, maybe it didn't, flunked it, I don't know, but you kind of work out where the sweet spot is. And that sort of comes down to niching a little bit. Like if your market's renovations and extensions, like us, stick with that. Like we don't really touch new builds. We don't do a lot of maintenance work or anything like that. We don't do commercial real estate. We know renovations, and generally I tell clients, especially new leads, if they've got like internal brick walls, masonry, that's us. Like in a city, like down a thoroughfare, that's sort of our specialty. So I think that really helps, because then our team, our subbies, our internal team are all aligned, and it just helps because we can go in there already being a step ahead.
That's true. If you've already got that skill set, and you've spent so long, building up the repertoire of all these renos and stuff that it's your specialty. You've got these people out there that spend their whole lives building these unbelievable decks. You wouldn't call them and say, hey, I've got this new build, this commercial restaurant that I want you to. So it's just, you wouldn't necessarily do that. So you think that's important for businesses to have their own sort of specialty, or to sort of stay in their lane, and if they really want to do something well, that's sort of the way to do it?
Absolutely. Because I think you sort of nailed it. You go, well, if you can stay where you want to be, because you enjoy it more too. And then I think the efficiency comes. Your sub-trades are comfortable with it as well, because we've built up a lot of our sub-trades will be renovation based, but they've got a few that will sort of step outside, and you go, well, they know the expectation, the housekeeping, the level of finish, the requirements of the project, so it just runs a whole lot smoother.
I love it. Any exciting stuff before the end of the year? What else have you got coming up, or is there anything you're thrilled about next year that you guys are going to be starting?
So we're working through documentation for a major renovating for a project in Glen Iris. And we've worked on it for probably the last 12 months. Finally starting to see some concepts come through. It's really exciting. So the client's brief was a lot of natural light originally, so we've gone back and forth, just tweaked it a little bit, bit of value management there. But I think overall, it's going to be stunning, and it looks out to back reserve, so they're going to get a lot of beautiful views that way. Gazing light come through. So.
And how long do you reckon you'll be on that when that job comes through?
So I think we'll probably stage it. It'll be around 9 to 12 months. And it's a full reno, so we'll touch the front half of the house, kind of just gets a makeover, and then the back is almost like chop it off, cut it, and then full sort of, extension from there. So
I love it.
So that'll be one of the big ones, and we still take on a lot of supplementary projects. So a lot of small like bathrooms, it might be just a little extension, things like that. They sort of come in and like workshop it, and that's probably the hardest thing. Like we used to be able to get jobs like leads that come through and be able to start on site within a couple of months, but now everything sort of seems to take like 6, 12 months, whatever it is. But I think governed by a lot of project size too.
Do you think it's good to have like a good pipeline of work? Like, do you try and stay booked out for that 6 to 12 months, or you said you do little supplementary jobs and stuff, but I guess you've got the crew, so it allows you to do these little jobs on the side as well.
Yeah, correct. And that's probably the hardest thing as well, because we know carpenters, they can be on site for predominantly the whole project, but then there's points where you don't need carpenters, and if you've got them in-house, where do you send them? So we're fortunate enough, again, with this sort of builder network, like we also contract and labour hire out to each other, just getting you to help out. You go, even if it might not align with our schedules, but one of the other builders needs a hand, we'll just sort of help them out there too. But by having a couple of little projects come in, you schedule them and you go, oh, well, it works out beautifully. You transition, and generally people think the little ones are better for cash flow. I mean, it's true. Like you can set up progress stage payments that it does align, and you can get the cash in a little bit quicker. But smaller progress payments, so it doesn't really help solve the issue. But it's just turnover too there.
I think one of the things I wanted to finish with is you have been a member since I think 2017 or 2016, so it's been a long time. And since I started at CA back in 2018, I've always seen your name pop up, and we've done a lot of stuff together out on site. But what do you think the most sort of crucial thing is that you've been able to gain from being a member with Carpentry Australia over the years, and what's something you hope to see in the future from us?
Yeah, so probably one of the biggest advantages and real assistance was back in COVID. I know it's going back a few years, but there was a lot of notice bulletins and just updates that you guys were sending out, whether it was weekly, daily, as they came through. Like you were emailing them out to all the members, and that was fantastic, because for us, like, we weren't sure where the regulations were at, where the rules were at, because being renovations, like, we couldn't work in a lot of homes that were occupied. So having that clarity that came through Carpentry Australia really helped. We're affiliated with a few other industry bodies, but there always seemed to be a bit more lag time with that. So you guys were right on it, and I think that really helped us. And it's been fantastic to keep ahead. And I think for the future, I want to see more and more carpenters jump on board and become members, because I think the industry needs it too. And again, it's all about that. Similar to like a builder network. If we can have carpenter network where you can share carpenters, because we're constantly looking just for decent subbies too, carpenters, because projects always need a push. And then once you get through that, then you can ease back. And if there's Carpentry Australia can offer this vast variety of carpenters on hand, you go, right, well, yes, here's a list, pick and choose, great. This solves everyone's needs.
Well, I think that's something that we're very excited about, is that the new member portal is, we had sort of our part 1 member portal, and that sort of launched at the start of this year, and we've seen all of the bugs and all of the sort of little issues that we were having within the website, and there's like a 2.0 that's coming, I think towards the end of this year is when it's going to be live, but it'll have exactly that. It'll have its own sort of list of carpenters that you can go through on the Find a Carpenter page. There'll be job leads, there'll be job listings as well, so if it's general public or if it's other builders that are looking for people, and it'll just allow people to actually, if you ever need anything, you can hop on and that there's 20 blokes that are actually open to work and they're in your area. So that's you just hit the nail on the head.
Sensational.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks for coming in. And actually, before we go, Halloween setup for this year, mate. We got some special stuff this year. Got some more scaff.
So again, going big.
Going big. Bigger.
Yeah, well, probably similar size. I haven't bought too many new things. We're just trying to add in an extra. So we're adding, like last year we hired like a little cotton candy machine. This year we added in like a little photo booth. So like when you go to like weddings or like you can get you jump in the photo booth, you get the print out 3 photos. So we're doing that as well. And then still be like a maze, smoke machines, all that stuff. But last year I think for the 4 hours it was just under 1,500 kids.
Yes, it's crazy.
So I think unfortunately being Friday night this year, I think it's going to be more. more. But yeah, like I did an online order for lollies.
Yeah.
I worked on about, I think it was like 3,800 or something. So I've given some bags to my neighbours. Because again, I feel sorry because they get slammed as much as we do. So I mean, we try to give a lot of kids, like every kid like one lolly, but it's like your kids
just want as many as that's right.
And, try to grab handfuls, but I'm looking forward to it. So super excited. But it's a big event, especially only for one night.
That's right. Well, I want to see the best sort of Halloween display in the southeast. You can hit up Dave. He's got some unbelievable stuff. Also, fantastic builder, fantastic bloke, and just we're really happy that we've been able to build this relationship over the years, mate. And thanks so much for coming in and talking to us.
No problems. Thank you.
You're a legend.